Millennial Memories, Nostalgia, Memory, and the Weight of Time. Nostalgia is not generational, it's situational. What is often described as a uniquely millennial obsession with nostalgia may not be unique at all, but instead a predictable response to a particular stage of life. As people move into their mid-30s to mid-40s, responsibility tends to peak. Careers demand more, financial pressures intensify, children may rely on them, and the support systems of parents begin to fade or disappear. In that context, nostalgia isn't indulgent, it's functional. It offers a temporary return to a time before those burdens existed. What makes millennials appear more nostalgic than previous generations is not that they feel it more deeply, but that they have unprecedented access to it. Their past has been documented and preserved through photos, videos, music and media, all of it instantly retrievable. Memory is no longer something abstract or fleeting. It can be replayed, revisited and experienced again with remarkable clarity. The result is not a new kind of nostalgia, but a more visible and accessible version of something that has always existed. How we remember. The architecture of memory. Memory itself, however, is not uniform. People do not access their past in the same way. Some recall vivid images, others hear voices or music, and many are triggered by something as simple as a smell, a taste, or a fleeting physical sensation. A song can transport someone instantly, a scent can unlock something long buried, and a photograph can either reinforce or subtly reshape what is remembered. For some, particularly those who are neurodivergent, memory is not linear or neatly structured. It may be fragmented, associative, and tied more to feeling than sequence. Moments are not always stored as complete narratives, but as sensory impressions that resurface unpredictably. In that sense, nostalgia is not simply about revisiting the past, it is about how the mind reconstructs it, using the pathways that are most deeply embedded within us. Everything old becomes new again. The pull of the past is not limited to individuals. It plays out across culture as well. The idea that everything old becomes new again is not a modern phenomenon, but an enduring cycle. Fashion trends return with slight reinterpretations, films and television revisit familiar stories through remakes and reboots, and music continuously samples or draws inspiration from earlier eras. Even broader ideologies and cultural movements resurface, reshaped by the context of the time but rooted in ideas that have existed before. What often feels like innovation is, in many cases, recombination. Each generation believes it is discovering something new, but more often it is rediscovering something old, filtered through its own lens. Nostalgia, in this sense, is not just personal, it's cultural. Entire industries lean into familiarity because it resonates, connects, and endures. What has changed is not the cycle itself, but its visibility. In a world where the past is constantly accessible, these cycles feel more immediate and more pervasive than ever before. Escape or avoidance, the double edge of nostalgia. This raises an important question. Is nostalgia actually good for us? On one hand, it can be restorative. It offers comfort, reinforces identity, and provides a sense of continuity in a life that can often feel overwhelming. It allows people to momentarily step outside the pressures of the present and reconnect with something simpler and more certain. But there is a tension in that escape. The more vivid and accessible those memories become, the easier it is to retreat into them, not just occasionally, but habitually. What begins as relief can gradually compete with the present, drawing attention away from the life that is actually unfolding. If the past becomes more appealing than the present, nostalgia risks shifting from a healthy release into a form of avoidance. The issue then is not nostalgia itself, but balance. Used well, it grounds us and reminds us who we are. Used poorly, it can anchor us to who we were at the expense of who we are still becoming. Time, the silent force behind it all. Underlying all of this is a deeper tension tied to time itself. We are often told that time is a healer, that distance softens pain and brings clarity. And while that may be true in part, it overlooks a more fundamental reality. Time also erodes. It changes relationships, removes people, distorts memories, and gradually dismantles the structures we rely on to hold on to the past. In that sense, time is not just a passive backdrop. It is an active force that ensures nothing remains exactly as it was. Everything eventually is altered or lost. Nostalgia can be understood as a response to that erosion. It is, in part, an attempt to preserve something that is slipping away. Whether through personal memory, recorded media, or cultural cycles that continually reintroduce what came before, we are, in a way, pushing back against time's tendency to dismantle everything. But that resistance has limits. The past can be revisited, reinterpreted, and remembered, but it cannot be fully recovered. And perhaps that is what gives nostalgia its weight. It exists in the space between what was and what can never be again.